Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me once again. You are always most welcome. Well, you just can't keep away, can you? Oh, suits you, sir. You can't keep away. Got a bit of a Matchbox addiction, have we? Are we, like me, you've become Matchbox dependent, have we, sir? Oh, dirty. You just can't resist it, can you, sir? You want to get your hands on all of them, don't you, sir? Oh! Anyway, enough of that. Somebody emailed me the other day and said, your show's turning into the fast show. Anyway, back to Matchbox. It's Matchbox March, and we are having a clean, contrary to what that might have sounded like, a clean, wholesome festival. Not a pagan festival where there's building of these absolute classics, some of which I'm about to show you the very first original classics in a second. We are not ruining them. We are not angering God himself by destroying and killing angels. Every time you build one of these, they ain't coming back. There's only a finite number of them, yeah? As I said in my previous video, it's like saying to my wife, really hungry tonight, I fancy a roast. Let's have roast dodo bird. And she'll say to me, well, they're extinct. I say, oh, damn. We ate them all. And it's going to be like that with Matchbox kits. One day, you're going to be wanting one and you won't be able to get one. Because you made it. You made it. There are other ways of doing this. You can use, maybe if it's a really bad example, maybe it's okay. Maybe, I'm not sure. But preferably get yourself a Revell Rebox and do it that way. Because otherwise, you'll never go to heaven. You'll burn in hell! Build them! What the name of God are you thinking of? This is a disgrace. I don't know how you sleep at night, some of you people, really. But anyway, enough of my grievances. I've got to try and stay calm and not get upset about it. And as somebody keeps pointing out, I don't know what you keep moaning for. Every time this happens, every year, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these get built because of this pagan festival. And I get richer because every one of my original absolute classics goes up in value. Of course. Anyway, let's get right down to it. Enough of my play acting. Let's have a look at what we've got here now. These are genuinely very interesting ones. I've sort of skipped past them in the first few episodes, first 6, 7 episodes. So this is episode, 7, isn't it, actually? Episode 7, Matchbox Heaven. That's what I'm going to call it. Now these are particularly interesting, these on the right especially. Every one of them is a lift top box from the purple range, and these are definitely the ones that most of you will have had, especially if you're of a certain age, like me. If you were around when they first came out, you'll have seen these and probably built it almost, certainly. But I just wanted to also draw your attention to a couple of things you may or may not have seen before. Example, I know that there was a later iteration of the Spitfire where they changed the colours and they changed the artwork as well. So we'll talk about that. Let's talk about the Spitfire first. I just want to say this is a Roy Huxley picture, and he actually said it in his book that he never felt this was one of his better works. For me, the sort of general art of it is a little bit paler than he normally goes in for. It's not quite as dramatic. There's nothing wrong with the artworks. In fact, I have to say, he's got FW190s. Yes, this is supposed to be 1941. Arrival of the FW190. There's nothing wrong with that. It's to do with the Spitfire itself. I just don't think he quite got it right. And he admitted this and actually went back and did a later version which was absolutely perfect for the 1980s, in fact. But this was one of his very first commissions. And if you look very carefully at this art, it's around the cockpit. I think it's all wrong. The cockpit and the lines ahead of the cockpit, it's a bit too straight and it's a bit odd and it's a bit strange behind the cockpit. This sort of area here just doesn't look right for me, never did. So, and I say he agreed and he decided to do it again and suggested they revised it. So, just shows he was, was a perfectionist. That doesn't mean he was perfect. I'm a perfectionist model and I'm certainly not perfect. But it means that you want to go back and you want to make it right, and that's the sort of guy that Roy Huxley was, and he did it. The final version, if you go and look at the Golden Years of Matchbox art, you can see it there. You can see both versions. Anyway, digressing, but we'll have a look at the kit in a minute, but just want to talk about boxes. This is the box that most of us were familiar with. Well, this is not the very, very first version. This is actually the second version, but the more common one. So this became the sort of ubiquitous box with the window in it, so you could see through. Actually, this window is parting company, I think. Now, Matchbox decided to do this because their original boxing, which I'll show you in a second, had no window. And I think they wanted to, there was a concern when they were taped and sealed, which they were, that youngsters couldn't see, and they wanted them to see the product. And of course at this time Airfix were doing the blister packs. So I think they decided to drop this star, so that's the Spitfire one. Exactly the same here with the Hurricane. Same deal, everything I've just said applies, except that the artwork on the Hurricane is one of his finest, I think. Certainly up there in his top 5, top 10. Absolutely brilliant. But look at the price on this. This is one thing I want to show you that was really important on this one. There you go. So I said in one of my earlier vids a week or so ago, I said it was 23p. And somebody said, 23p? Was it really as low as that? Are you sure? There's the proof. 22p. I can honestly say that is the cheapest I've ever seen them at. And that's a genuine original pricing sticker. It looks like just a pricing gun, you know. That's 22p. I haven't added that. That was exactly as original on this box. And that's what they were coming out at, around 22, 23p. And that would have been late 72, early 73 that you'd have seen that price. So you can see when I was saying that they was cheap, look at the artwork though, isn't it? Brilliant. That's just... So this is attacking the Car-Piqué airfield in northern France near Caen. Oops. Near Caen. What does it say here? Yeah, it says the Caen area. It's Car-Piqué, the German airfield there. Probably about 1942, 43, I expect. So there we go, and one of the absolutely dramatic artwork, a beautiful work of art. I mean, that just sells that kit to you. 22p. What can you buy for that? A large block of chocolate, you know, a bag of chips. Take my money. I'm sure you all felt the same way. It's just like, take the 22p and give me that box. I've got to have it. Oh, got to have it set up. Stop that. But you know what I mean, don't you? It's just like, what? Oh, you know, there's nothing not to like about that at the price. It's just fantastic value. Anyway, so that's two of the standard boxes. We want to talk about these originals. So, as we talk about the Hurricane, let's have a look at it and do the comparison. So this is the actual original edition with this lift top box with no window on the back, and it has the artwork canted over onto the right hand side, not the left. And then what you get, obviously, ta-da, lift off the top, which I really like. They had the artwork ever so slightly differently as well, in that they would show two views, instead of just having like a 3/4 view, which is what they did later. Can you see the style difference? You'll see this is very typical. So this is the earlier style and the later style above. And it gave you like a plan view and a side view, profile view. I prefer that to this. This is okay, you know, I don't dislike it, but this is slightly better, I think. So you take your lid off, and then you've got your beautiful, utilising the box, a fully printed box. A box that's useful because you can put things in it and you can put your half-built model in it, and you don't have to force it into an awkward opening like a letterbox, which you do with the later ones, of course. All your small parts paint guide is here, as you see. And then we get our ubiquitous Matchbox stand. And now I'm going to have to move these models in the background because they are going to give us hell, aren't they? I'm not going to go into too much detail now because I think I have shown these before. But there's your chocolate, chocolate brown. We'll call it chocolate brown to be generous on this one, I think. Sprue with all the main fuselage and the spinner and things on it. Then we get we've got decals. And by the way, those of you that love the artwork and want to build one of these, don't forget that Armour Hobby have got the 48th scale version. They call it the Jubilee edition of this very aircraft. So bear that in mind. Armour Hobby's 1/48th. Hurricane 2C Jubilee edition, they call it. Same aircraft, same marking. So if you want to build a really nice one and recreate a diorama or that artwork, that's the one you need. And then we have our canopy, which is actually really rather good one, I thought. Here it is. Quite a nice canopy. Yep. And then the beautiful typical Mark 1 series purple range, purple instructions, Hurricane 2C. It says here, after early battle experience with the Hurricane, the Battle of Britain, this indicated the need for much more firepower. Well, the Spitfire and the Hurricane both, of course, because they were undergunned, weren't they? In the Battle of Britain, it was the one thing that counted against them. A number of experiments are made with 20mm Hispano cannons, which eventually resulted in the development of the Mark II-C version. First prototype of this variant flew on the 6th of Feb 41. The 2C became type approved in greatest numbers. Strange English. Sounds like almost sounds like this has been a translation from a foreign language. Machines entered service in May 41, so you can see that by the summer of 41 they had these and they had the Spitfire Mark 9 coming out. So suddenly, yeah, they had cannon-equipped aircraft. But this has got 4 cannons, whereas the initial Spitfire Mark 9 only had 2 cannons. Am I right in saying that? I'm right, yes. And it goes on to say the aircraft were widely used in the Middle East and the North African desert as tank busters, carrying bombs, rockets, and using its cannons. There you go. So that's your. I mean, I won't go through the instructions because it's just the usual thing, you know. Very, 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 very normal, typical instructions. What I will do though is I'll just tell you something and show you something. First of all, just to let you know, the final sprue, which is this cream colour. Strange choices, you know. Why they didn't go with a grey and a green, I don't know. Why they go with this cream? A really strange one for this. Unless they're thinking of the North African one, but even then, more of a sandy colour would have been better, wouldn't it? But there is just one problem with this kit, this particular kit. I don't know whether they did enough sort of testing, QC testing, not so much on the quality of the sprues. But I have here a finished example, which I've done myself. And again, in the usual Matchbox manner, I haven't done a 10 out of 10 build job on it, or paint job. I've really tried to go... I still want it to look like a Matchbox, do you know what I mean? So I haven't gone to town on it. I'm going to put the box lid back, which is a beautiful box, that. To get one like that, I mean, this is absolutely mint, really. This hasn't got 22p on it, I'm afraid, but this probably would have been exactly the same price, 22 pence, 23p, depending on which store you buy it in. But what a nice example, you know. And you've still got the original. You see how the original tape really does UV fade a lot. It goes quite dark, which it didn't seem to be originally. Actually, the right way around. I've actually realised that it goes the other way around. You can tell by the tape marks. I'm just going to spin it 380 degrees. There we go. Now the tape marks actually match. Can you see that? Matching tape marks where the tape was there. See it here and here. So that's the right way around. But sorry, getting back to the point. The one issue that this is probably worth on the market in this condition. I'd give you 35 quid for one of those, which is quite a lot for something that's 22p. And I'd say 35 quid, not just an arbitrary figure, but to get one in that mint condition, you know, flawless example really. But there is one flaw that comes in the kit from when they manufactured it, and it's just to do with the wings. I don't know whether somebody at Matchbox have not seen an actual Hurricane, but here is my model that I completed of the said aircraft. I don't like markings on this. Yes. There's actually one of the markings is missing on the artwork. I've just realised something got missed there. Perhaps Roy wasn't given all the information. But here is my finished one. And there's a couple of things about this model which are a little bit wrong, I think. I think there's something about the shaping of it that isn't quite right. Look at the nose of the aircraft. This to me, it's a bit too Spitfire-like. It doesn't look like a Hurricane. The nose, the angles are a bit wrong. It's a bit too pointy looking. Hasn't got that Hurricane stubbiness that it should have. Can you see that? Then worst of all, look at the dihedral of the wings. Well, the Hurricane doesn't really have dihedral, not like that. Anyway, it looks like a Spitfire. That's the way. That is actually the kit design. The wings actually have this dihedral actually sort of built into them, effectively, Whether you could correct that out with a lot of work, I don't know, but that is the way that your Hurricane will end up being. If you build that, yeah, following the instructions, you're going to end up with a dihedrally Hurricane. And I went and built it straight out of the box as is, you know, nothing fancy, nothing special. I did airbrush it, that's one thing I did, so it's not, I didn't completely do it like I did it as a child, but it's okay, you know, so it's nice enough. It looks like a Hurricane, sort of. As I say, I just feel that nose is a bit wrong somehow. It just doesn't quite seem correct, the shaping. It's a bit too pointy. Anyway, I thought I'd point out this issue with the dihedral because that's a strange one. And the Spitfire wasn't brilliant either. I did have a finished one, but it wasn't very nice, and I actually binned it some years ago because it was quite a poor job I'd done, to be honest. And that didn't look brilliant either. It's something about the shaping didn't quite nail it on these kits. A better kit, in fairness, I'll show you this now anyway as we're talking about finished kits. I did show the Tempest a couple of videos ago. Whoops. And here is my finished Tempest. And again, straight out of the box, you know, nothing fancy about it really. But that's my Matchbox Tempest. Yeah, it's the Flying Can Opener 6 Squadron. The only thing I'd say to watch out for, which I didn't bother with, very lazy, was the gapping here. There's a bit of a gap. It doesn't actually fit that well. It's a little bit unusual because Matchbox fit is usually excellent, really. I think I was I was just being lazy, if I'm honest. I'm not going to make any excuses. This was built quite some time ago, many years. But anyway, there we go. It's an acceptable Tempest, I think. It's not going to win any prizes or awards in a modelling competition, but there you go. So that's your Tempest. Anyway, it gives you a flavour for. And it also shows that, good Lord, I do actually build these kits. Who'd have thought it, eh? Actually, I'll show you another one while I'm at it, because this is another one that we've already covered, or I don't actually think I showed you the boxes of this one on this particular occasion this year, but it's the Jagdpanther. And again, a bit of an average job from me. I've got to say, I was, again, done in a hurry, and this is, again, some years ago, nothing fancy. And I've seen people on the, I think on the Flory forum and elsewhere, a couple of videos people have done of building these, and there's been some really beautiful examples. I mean, I could go back and I could repaint this and do it properly, you know. One of these days I might just do that, actually, and do a proper job, especially with the wall. It just needs a bit of detailing, doesn't it, really? It's kind of a bit, it's very basic, but again, as I've said before, I always like to just make it look a bit like I did the first time. For me, Matchbox is all about nostalgia. Nostalgia? Oh, you can't get enough of it, sir. Are we all getting nostalgia dependent, sir? I think we are, sir and madam. Because I know that there's a couple of ladies have contacted me, and they maybe built these with the brothers, I think, back in the day. Anyway, we'll move on. I talked about the Spitfire, so that makes sense for that one to be next. Again, another beautiful lift top box. We've talked about the artwork being a little bit iffy. On the back though, this is the non-window original lift top, obviously. So what you've got here is two options. You've got the Polish Squadron, 306 Squadron to run. 306 Squadron, didn't they have Hurricanes as well? I thought they did. And then 124 Squadron. Doesn't say where they were based, sadly, but you can see that this is, if you look very closely, a point of interest on this kit here. You look very closely at the date, and you'll see it's actually one of the very originals, 1972. Now this makes it a relatively rare one. I'm going to check what the other box said. Whether that's a 72 or 73. I think it'll be 3. Yeah, you can see on the window box, it's 73. So that is good that it's been dated sort of accurately, and that tells us without any doubt that, like the Zero, which you can see in the background there, like the Zero, this is a 72 absolute original kit. And again, we have this plan view and profile view on the side, which I think is preferable, to be honest. The green and the brown kind of makes sense, I suppose, although they were green and grey. for the Mark 9. The camo had changed, so a little bit out of date there, but don't mind really. Just the artwork wasn't punchy enough, was it? It wasn't exactly Roy Cross's Battle of Britain Spitfire artwork. Whereas most of Roy Huxley's for Matchbox are absolutely fabulous. So let's have a look. Again, we get an absolutely knockout example. Whoops. Well, first of all, going to the box, we've got the box, the small parts paint guide on the end, which, as I say, I do prefer because you can see it and it's in colour. Talks about the stand on the side, and then again, more small part detail. This is actually helpful because it shows different details. So it's not actually just a repetition of what's on the other end. There's two options. It sort of encourages you to do it two slightly different ways. And then we've got our green, proper Kermit green here. Kermit green, look at that. That's quite extreme, isn't it? Look at that. Kermit green plastic. And then we have got a little bit of shrink wrap, bubble wrap in this one to help it. And then we've got our brown. Well, I don't know what's happening with the birds outside. It sounds like the magpies are on the loose, attacking the blackbirds or something. It does. Either magpies attacking the bird's nest, or it'll be a cat or something. Anyway, there we go. There's your brown. Chocolate brown. Nice, isn't it? Really nice original example. Absolutely fantastic. Very simple kits, as we know, just pocket money. Fairly decent looking decals on this one as well. And then we've got the instructions. Usual thing. Pilot and seat. Goes in between the two halves of the fuselage. Spinner and your prop. And then you've got your tailplanes going in, your wings going together. Very standard stuff, this, isn't it? And it's interesting because the artwork of these instructions actually, if anything, seems better than some of the later ones. It's really clear. Shows the angles even here that your gear, landing gear should be at, the legs, which is on the top right there. That's quite helpful. And even for the tail wheel as well. Very, very good. So there you go. So that's your Spitfire. So let me zoom you back. We'll have a look at this Zero next, I think, because I think that's another 72 original. And they only came out, I think they came out something like October or November. I seem to recall going back to school in the autumn, and I think they arrived on the scene just a few weeks later, so it's probably early mid-October. It's actually Spit. Let's look at this Zero. Now this is one that's, somebody was telling me in the chat last week, and I think may have commented as well, saying he was trying to get hold of this in one of these boxes, a lift top box, and they're very hard to get hold of, so this is actually quite rare now. So we've got the Mitsubishi Zero attacking Pearl Harbor with some incredibly violent and beautiful artwork, if I'm being honest. Absolutely fantastic stuff from Roy Huxley. Yeah, one of his early ones. It is Roy, isn't it? I think it is, yeah. And it's Zeros from the carrier Akagi attacked Pearl Harbor, December the 7th, 1941. There's all sorts. There's flak going off. There's one of the big, it looks like the Arizona there, burning. Absolutely incredible. Fantastic stuff. Adverts on the side for the Spitfire, the Focke-Wulf, Fury and the Boeing. And then you get your typical plan view and profile view. Now don't ask me why they've gone with strange colours again. Let's have a look what we've got here. I think we're going to have a rather surprising choices of plastic. A bit like the Brewster Buffalo all over again. So, oh yes, so we've got white, which is fair enough, that's okay. And then less okay, we've got Dayglow orange. I mean, they're just weird, aren't they? Why Dayglow orange? White and grey would have probably been better for this aircraft, I would have thought. But it does make it very memorable. Just move these aside. Look at that. Isn't it extreme? This is, as I said, it's like the Brewster Buffalo all over again, really. It's a really odd choice. The white is more understandable. There it is for the wings. Again, lovely purple range, purple instructions. saying that ultimately the introduction, it was dominant and superior in the skies over the Pacific until the introduction of this aircraft, and of course the Hellcat F6F, which unfortunately they just didn't update the Zero, and it just started to get more absolutely mullered, you know. There we go with our usual setup. It's a little bit of strange, a bit of UV light on this. It's got UV light on both sides. Can you see that? Yellowing on both sides on the centre. Now why would that be, I wonder? That's very odd. That is curious. I can't think of a reason why that would be when it's perfectly normal on the outside, but just the centre panel, it's got yellowing as if it's been in the sun. Odd, very odd. Anyway, usual thing, all there. A very, very nice kit. Just mystifying that they went for this rather baffling day glow orange. There's your rather nice looking canopy, glasshouse canopy. And the ubiquitous Matchbox stand, which is much missed. Somebody was asking as well, I can't think what I was watching, I don't think it was one of my shows, another show. Somebody was saying, why did they drop the stands? Well, I can tell you that's a simple, easy to answer that. The stands were dropped in 1982 because it said Matchbox here, which is fine, that's not a problem. But it said Lesney Products and Company Limited on the other side. And Lesney is the company that went bust. And I did hear somebody, you probably should know better, who suggested, somebody was asking why did they go bust, and he said, oh, it was the oil crisis. Well, that was 10 years earlier. In fact, the oil crisis was exactly when these came out in 72, 73, so no, it wasn't the oil crisis, it was other issues, and a lot of it was to do with advent of computer games, and the majority of Lesney's business, you know, they were doing these Matchbox cars. Hot Wheels came out, a big competitor as well, and that really hurt them. And unfortunately, Matchbox, the Matchbox model kit company was just collateral damage in Lesney going bust. They were not unsuccessful. Well, they were not unsuccessful at all. They were selling these everywhere. If you wanted an Airfix kit, you generally had to go somewhere like Model Shop or Woolworths, big retail store. Sometimes you get them perhaps in your local, you know, maybe a local post office, but generally it was big retail stores or model shops, whereas these were on the market. They were for sale everywhere. News agents would sell them, post office would sell them, supermarket would sell them. You can pick them up all over the place. They became very, very easy to get hold of. So whoever the salesperson was, I've got to say, they did a great job in actually getting this distribution network out into, you know, local petrol stations used to sell them. It was incredible. They were everywhere, really. Anyway, last two. Focke-Wulf 190. We'll look at the Focke-Wulf 190, I think, next. Another one with some, I think, slightly iffy artwork, which, again, many people don't like this, and I don't think Roy Huxley was all that proud of it. I think this is another one that he later revised. It doesn't look... I don't dislike it strongly, it's just a little bit angular looking for me, especially, again, around this area. And again, it's one of his very early ones. What date is this? This is dated... Oh, it's another 72. This is remarkable. I've actually got 3 in a row here that are all 1972, the very first issues. So that's like a first day cover and stamps, you know. And here we go on the sides, we've got the Zero, Spitfire, and the Boeing, and the Hawk Fury again. Opposite side, we've got our profile and plan view again. And then we've got this absolutely wonderful lift-top box, and they're fighting here. It shot down a Sturmovik on the Eastern Front, this one. And of course, when these Focke-Wulfs arrived on the Eastern Front, it was easily the best fighter in the sky over the sort of fields of the Soviet Union. There was no aircraft to match the Focke-Wulf 190. It just wasn't, you know. Now here we've got more Kermit green. So whoever plugged in the green plastic pellets to the Spitfire obviously decided we're going to go with it here as well. It's just a bit darker, you know, a bit more of an olive green. That might have been better, but it's very nice. Has got some raised lines though. These lines here, panel lines that run front to back, are actually raised. and the rest seem to be recessed, so it's a bit of a mixture. Nice figuring of the stretched skin here over the elevators. And then again, despite being 1972, so 53 years old, which is incredible. But look how new this looks. It looks like it's just printed last week. Sharp as you like. Says the FW-190 was one of the great fighters of World War II. Well, actually, I'm jumping around here. Let me just show you that. It'd be easy if I just show you the blue sprue as well. While so you get a bomb. You get to drop a bomb. A bomb under the central fuselage is an option on this. Does it show that? Didn't actually show that. So this is a bit strange in a way, because this is like the opposite of what we had with the Mirage, where we had drop tanks shown and then on the side they vanished to the reality. Here you get a bonus because it doesn't show any bomb anywhere, but there is one inside, so that's good. Don't complain about that. But here we've got the lovely baby blue plastic. Strange choice. Again, it'd be nice if that had been underneath the wings only, but it is a nice colour. It's actually quite, it's quite attractive. Probably paint quite nicely that. I haven't got one of these built. I think I've got 2 of these. No, I've got 3 of them, and the others are in the later boxing with the window. I think this is the only 72 that I've got. I think so. And then of course you've got your stand here as normal. Got our bubble canopy here. Very, very nice stuff indeed. It's nice that that little Matchbox stand, it sort of fits in the gap that they used to produce in the middle of the sprues. So that was quite clever. Anyway, back to this. Yeah, we've got the full decals without any latter day revisionism. So we have the symbol of the rather evil empire that it represented. But we want it to be there because we want to know the truth about history and not airbrushing it out and then pretending things didn't happen, and then, in the future you do that often enough and it just gets erased from history. Nobody knows what happened or what went on, and history will repeat itself. Anyway, so here, standard Matchbox fare. Instructions, I will read out the history section in a moment. There you go, normal thing. Seat and pilot go together, fuselage goes together, build up the front of your engine. Doesn't really clearly replicate the fan very well, I don't think, on this particular kit. Not terribly clear. I never knew about the fan at the front of the engine until I did, I think, maybe the Tamiya one, or now I've got the Edward version. And then you put it on your top cowl. It actually goes together. It's just like the 109 does, funnily enough. And then all your normal stuff, your gear legs and your doors. But there's your bomb, which is not even. That's the first time it's mentioned in the whole kit. It's not mentioned in the artwork. It's not mentioned on the side. But we don't like to complain. Hot hints, all the things you need to know, not to put too much glue on, etc. How to slide your decals off. It's all there, isn't it? But it's a lovely, lovely model. Just before I put that away, I'm going to read you what it says on the front. Zoom you back. Get you zoomed back. So we're still on this one at the moment. Not to confuse you. It's easy enough to confuse myself. Getting old. So it says, without doubt one of the great fighters of World War II, the FW-190 entered service with its brilliant design ensuring superiority over similar planes. It was a very tough aircraft, this one. It was very rugged, could operate on fairly rough fields and things. The prototype flew, designed in 1938, and the prototype flew in 1st of June 1939, powered by a BMW 139 radial engine of 1550 horsepower. Production started with a batch of 100 FW-190A1 machines, which were completed in the late spring of 41, entering service in July-August of that year. And this is what happened. High summer, and they started rocking up over the south coast of England, and people were confused. In fact, there were some people in the Air Ministry that thought that there were Zeros. They knew that the Japanese had the Zero, and because of its similar appearance with the radial engine, they thought it was a Zero, that perhaps the Japanese had sold them to Germany, which of course they hadn't. It says this depiction version, the version depicted, I should say, is the FW-190A3, which had increased armament and a more powerful engine. Later models had the UMO inline engine, so the FW190D Dora, for example. A total of some 20,000 of these planes were built. I like the original version though, the radio engine like this, to be honest. I never really liked the look of the inline version, it never did it for me. It looked a bit weird. Very nice, but a nice example, and here we have literally from the autumn winter of 72 we have a mint example in my hand, you know. So again, I'd give you 30-35 quid for that, but you're going to struggle to find one in quite that condition, I've got to say. You really are. And then last but not least, we've got our Corsair, and this is the aircraft that changed, it kind of changed everything in the war in the Pacific. Sorry, I've just realised that I have removed. Just remove this. I'm getting a bit senile. Which one was that from? You should shout out. Which one was it from? Was it the Hurricane? Was it the Spitfire? Or was it the Focke-Wulf? I'm going to put it in the Focke-Wulf actually, irrespective of which one it came out, because it's the one that's got slightly awkward shaping. I think it needs it the most. I'm going to put it so it doesn't damage that one. Pop it in there. Doesn't really make a huge difference which one you put it in. I don't think it was. I just think it was somebody being very, like me, a bit OCD and extra careful. Really, that's what was happening. There's nothing wrong with that. Well, not in my book, anyway. You may beg to differ. I don't know. Right, let's get that back in there. So. Tell you what we'll do, we'll put that, protect its clear part as well, like that. There we go. Isn't that nice? That's much nicer. It's such a special one, I think it deserves it. Right, so finally, the Corsair, and let's see what the date on this one is. Now this says 73. I've got this feeling that it was after about, what numbers are they? I'm looking at PK6. I think that the first 10 came out in 72, and then after that, the second tranche of 10 came out in 73, and that would explain a lot, because all those like the Zero is PK4, Hurricane's PK11 though, so maybe my theory is wrong. Obviously there was a change in the date at some point. Anyway, let's look at the amazing Vought Corsair, F4UA Corsair, and again another mint box, 72 this time, but sorry, 73 I should say, but you wouldn't know it. It's just like the 72 models, isn't it? Again, plan and profile view, and it's saying here, this is actually later. This is actually 1952, undergoing flight deck training. So this is after World War II. Well, 7 years after, isn't it? So yeah, interesting. So be aware of that these markings on this particular one are a later iteration. There they are on the back, that top one, but it doesn't give dates, which is a little bit frustrating really. It doesn't give any dates. I hadn't appreciated that when I first had the kit, to be honest. I just assumed it was battling it out in the Pacific, especially given what it said in the Zero blurb, you know. Well, we've got the Matchbox stand here is actually already separated, so there it is, there we are. That's the ball, which just needs a bit of a nub trimming off from the sprue there. And there's the cup and the insert, which actually locates into your model. It's a brilliant design, one of the best ever in my view, because it works so well at all scales, you know. Well, there's 3 different versions. This is the small, orange as the medium, and then the red range is the large. Then we've got our canopy. And again, nice one. Yeah, pretty good. We have got very sensible colours this time, not balmy ones like the Zero. We've got the dark blue, and it's all recessed panel lines on this. All very straightforward stuff, to be honest. Everything looks very standard here. A twin-sided tail there, of course. Yeah, just looking inside, it actually says 1973 inside on the the engraving. If you can make that out, actually, probably won't in that range. Let's just see if I can bring it for you. So it definitely is a 73 model. There it is. See that? 73. And then we've got the very attractive, if I'm honest, blue, like a Bugatti stroke baby blue for the wings. And you've got these anhedral wings. Well, it's anhedral, sorry. It's anhedral inboard and then dihedral outboard, isn't it? A bit like the Stuka. So whether they actually studied the Stuka and thought it was a good design, I really don't know. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Really? Okay, so that goes in there, and I shall give you a little bit of a write-up of the blurb that comes with it. There's also quite a big decal sheet actually. Look at the size of that, huge. It's got these post-war sort of stripes on it. I'm not sure I like them particularly, but anyway. I suspect they probably work alright. They look in fairly reasonable condition. And then another early edition, and it's early edition box, and it's got really nice instructions printed yesterday. And there we go, same old thing. It's got a headrest. Look at the luxury on this one. What an improvement! Look at the headrest on the back of the seat. Look at the top of the seat. Ooh, suits you, sir. They've got a radial engine. It's was it the Wasp engine in this? I think it was, wasn't it? And then you've got like an outer ring that goes on, bringing all that together here. Usual thing, put your canopy on, fixing your... so what they're telling you to do there, they're telling you not to fix the ring in place until can't glue it until you've got both sides of the fuselage, and then you put it in place there. Horizontal stabilisers, putting your wings on, your gear, and then finally your undercarriage gear legs themselves, and the gear doors, and the guns, 50 cal guns. Very, very nice. What a lovely thing. So it says on it, in terms of the history bit, it's got here, this plane originated in a US Navy design contest for a shipboard sea fighter as early as 1938. Corsair's designers aimed at building the fastest fighter in the world. Based on the Pratt & Whitney double Wasp engine, I was right. The V166B design was approved and the prototype was built ready early in 1939, before the start of the war. The immense power of the engine required an enormous air screw to be used, huge propeller, and the inverted gull wing gave adequate ground clearance while keeping the undercarriage length to an absolute minimum, so it put the undercarriage lower to the deck. The Royal Navy was also actually the first to operate the machine from carriers. The Royal Navy operated it before the US Navy. How about that? Mind you, we didn't really have an aircraft in this league at all, whereas they had the Wildcat and the Hellcat. And the US Marine squadrons used the Corsair from ground bases also in the Pacific. Well, there you go. That is an impressive kit, if ever I saw one. Particularly nice example I've got there. Another beauty. Look at that. A Mark 1 box. Absolute peach, that is. So there you have it. You've got some real classics there. Absolute gorgeous examples of Matchbox's very Generation 1 kits. Quite hard to get your hands on in such good condition. So I'm very lucky. But I hope you found that interesting. Anyway, we've got more to come. We've got some more armour kits, and we've got to get into the orange range. I haven't got to the orange range yet. That's all coming very soon. We've also got the red range, the really sort of premium kits. And then the beyond pocket money ranges, the green range with the big 32nd scale kits, to look at some of those as well. Hope you found it interesting. Anyway, thanks very much for joining me. Hope you stay well, stay safe, and please tune in again. So that was episode 7, Matchbox Heaven. Tune in for episode 8, coming very soon. Thanks a lot. Until then, take care of yourselves. Give us a like. Don't forget to give us a like. Take care of yourselves, and bye for now.